I have the new iPhone 14 Pro and Google 7 Pro, and I'm going to test the cameras. And you might ask, why would a professional photographer be testing smartphones? And it's because these are really important tools. I don't do everything with one camera. More and more, the smartphone is the camera I use for candid shots. It's the camera I use in bad weather conditions, when I need to do live streaming, when I need to quickly turn around images or video. I go to my smartphone, so I want to find the best possible one. Before I start the actual lens test, I got to point out the Pixel has some features that the iPhone does not have that enthusiast photographers really love, like the ability to do panning shots, long exposure waterfall shots. Apple simply did not address this in the latest update. And so if you like that stuff, you should check out the Pixel. Now let's try out the ultra-wide lens. I love to use the ultra-wide lenses on these because my regular camera doesn't go from telephoto to ultra-wide, so often this is the only ultra-wide camera I need. This allows me to put things in the foreground while still capturing a lot of the background here. So I'll be able to capture these gardens and the beautiful sky and the sun in it in a single frame. Let's see how they look. Both cameras' ultra-wide angle lenses handled shooting into the sun pretty well. If we zoom in, we see about the same amounts of detail from both smartphones, but the iPhone wildly over sharpens this. That's why there are so many hard edges. This can make the image look sharper, but it does not add any more detail. I personally prefer to add my own sharpening when necessary, so I consider this to be a big win for the Pixel. However, the iPhone's image is substantially wider angle, and this is the wide angle lens, so that might be more useful for many of you. In 35mm equivalent terms, the iPhone is f10, while the Pixel is f15. So technically, the iPhone lens is a bit faster, but we wouldn't see that in good light. We'll only see it in low light. One big advantage of the iPhone is the screen is brighter in sunlight. That makes it easier to compose my pictures and easier to review my pictures to make sure I got it right. So win for the iPhone. I love nature photography, and while these aren't telephoto enough to do birds, I can definitely get bees. So let's see which is the better at that sort of close-up photography. Switching between all the different lenses, I got the best results with the ultra-wide angle lenses, and by far the best results with the iPhone. Look at this incredible detail. You can see the bee's tongue. Most of the Pixel photos turned out of focus. This was the best that I got, so big win for the iPhone. We also found this amazing millipede, and the Pixel got about the same magnification with both the ultra-wide angle and the wide angle lenses. For close-up work on the iPhone, you have to always use the ultra-wide angle lens, and that was about the same magnification as the Pixel, so it's a tie. The cameras produce equally good results on the millipede, but with faster moving subjects like bees, the iPhone's autofocus close-up worked far better. Let's zoom in 2 times and slow this down by 50%. Look at the incredible detail. You can really appreciate the beauty of these animals. I spent more time trying to film with the Pixel, but I got less results. It simply had a very hard time locking on to close-up, fast-moving subjects. So if you're into video of bugs, definitely get the iPhone. Most of the Pixel's close-up video was just way out of focus, but I did manage to catch this ladybug. This is the best the Pixel could do. Now I'll test the main lens on both cameras. It's about 24mm. This is what we're more used to seeing, so it's going to be the lens that you use most often. I'm putting both cameras into RAW mode and JPEG mode so I can really take advantage of all the megapixels they offer. First, let's compare the standard compressed image quality from both cameras, Enhance. At a glance, you might think the iPhone looks better, but the iPhone uses outrageous image processing, just cranks up the sharpening. That's why you see these jaggy lines here that aren't present on the Pixel. So I think the image quality is pretty much tied, though you might prefer one over the other, the Pixel's understated processing versus the iPhone's over processing. But we're serious photographers here, and we usually shoot RAW, so let's set both cameras to RAW and see the difference. Now, one you can see just in the metadata. The iPhone produces 48.8 megapixel RAW files, while the Pixel produces 12 megapixel RAW files. They both brag about having 50 megapixel sensors, but the Google Pixel does not output the full resolution. Instead, it only outputs the binned resolution. And in weeks of testing, I do actually see a real-world benefit from the iPhone's fuller RAW output. The over-processing is gone, which is a huge benefit, but there is actual, real, more detail. This is a win for iPhone RAW shooters. With that said, shooting RAW does have its sacrifices. Each picture takes way more storage space, and to get the most out of it, you'd have to use a separate RAW processor like Adobe Lightroom Classic, which I'm using now. By the way, if you want to learn how to use this processing software, you can buy our books on Lightroom or Lightroom Classic. Lightroom is the one you would use on your smartphone. I'm testing it shooting into the sun too because I want to check the contrast of the lenses. That's really important when you shoot in a variety of different environments. In fact, the main lens on the iPhone is showing some nasty flaring, which can completely ruin your shot. And yeah, my lens is clean. You can see by default the iPhone does more processing on the image, heavily pulling down these highlights to show the sky while bringing up the shadows to show the foreground detail. So let's equalize that so we can more fairly compare the details. As I look at the flaring and contrast, I can see they're both pretty bad. This is one of the reasons why you'd want to buy a conventional camera with high quality lenses. The contrast and flaring is much improved. The iPhone shows this big ugly flare at the bottom, while the Google handles that better, but look at all this red flaring that the Pixel shows up here that is handled a little bit better on the iPhone. I'm going to call this a tie. With the ultra wide angle lenses, the Pixel actually looks a little worse with some bad flaring here, while the iPhone managed to hide just about all of the flaring that might occur. I love wildlife photography, and neither of these smartphones are going to be great at that. But I was so mad that Apple didn't give me an improved telephoto lens to at least bring those faraway subjects a little closer. They gave me the exact same lens as the iPhone 13 Pro. Google, though, they gave us something really special. Let's check out the results. The Pixel's camera app crashed, and it is fully updated. That's not good. For faraway subjects, we can see just how much closer the Pixel brings you. But is it actually more detailed compared to cropping? Let's find out. Yeah, it's way more detail. Apple really screwed us over by not giving us a telephoto lens upgrade. Now I'm going to test the portrait lenses, and since Chelsea called out today, I'm going to have to get our cameraman Frank Donardi to take some pictures of me. You up for it, Frank?
Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, hey, Frank got some nice pictures of me. Let's zoom in. Oh God, no, Google, what did you do to my face? I don't look like that. That's a monster. This is not fair. Why would you treat me like this, Google? Google makes their portrait mode by cropping in heavily from the wide angle lens and then applying massive amounts of sharpening, which is not friendly to any human skin. The iPhone uses the telephoto lens without cropping and then uses the images from the wide angle lens to figure out the depth of the image. It uses that depth mapping to apply fake bokeh to the background to give you that portrait look. And if you look at the edges of the different layers, you can see the iPhone does a much better job of naturally blending it. Like, this hair shouldn't be blurred like that, but the Pixel actually blurs solidly into my head. This comparison is not close. If you plan to use your phone to take pictures of humans in portrait mode, you should not get the Google. Sorry. Now we're gonna go inside and check out low light, which is so important if you're shooting at restaurants or bars or a reception at a wedding. It used to be people had to buy a big expensive camera to get low light shots, but nowadays smartphones are actually better in low light than those cameras thanks to computational photography. I can tap the shutter button once and these cameras will take dozens of pictures, cancel out any camera shake, stack them together and produce like a beautiful high resolution image. So let's see which of these do it better. The app crashed again. It's the third time it's crashed. The Pixel automatically went into night mode in these conditions, but the iPhone did not. So I manually turned it on, but it's only giving me a maximum of a 1 second exposure, while the Pixel was letting me do a 6 second exposure. Before we compare the Pixel and iPhone, let's first compare the iPhone against itself in 12 megapixel HEC mode or 50 megapixel RAW mode. At a glance, they look the same, but let's zoom in. The RAW mode looks dramatically better with much finer detail. But wait, there's a catch. If you look at this line on the compressed 12 megapixel file, you can see there is massive sharpening happening. That's why there's an artificial black line at this area of contrast. You see the same thing here, and it's shown as a white line here. Sharpening accentuates contrast to add detail, and it generally looks really garbage when you zoom in. The RAW file doesn't do that because the RAW file processing is handled by my software Lightroom. So does the 50 megapixel RAW actually have more detail than the 12 megapixel HEC file? If we look at these words, we should be able to see the answer. If the 50 megapixel RAW has more detail, these letters should be more readable. But in fact, they're equally readable in both images. And to me, that means the biggest difference between these two files is the post-processing. So by shooting RAW, you manage to escape Apple's fairly awful default processing, which is a win, but it's not a hardware win, it's a software win. Especially at higher ISOs, the difference between the megapixels won't make any difference. RAW files from both cameras. You can see the iPhone registers as 48 megapixels while the Pixel registers as 12 megapixels. Even though the Pixel advertises a 50 megapixel sensor, it only produces 12 megapixel files. Zooming in, I see a dramatic difference, and my first inclination is to say the iPhone image looks much better, but wait. Let's switch to Lightroom's develop mode. Here we can see the settings that each image is applying by default. And if I toggle between these, you can see by looking in this bar over here that they aren't using the same settings. More importantly, if we look at the sharpening and noise reduction, and I scroll between them, you can see they're pretty dramatically different. The iPhone uses no noise reduction, which would make the image look sharper. It also has masking set to 50, which is good. That reduces the amount of unnecessary sharpening. If we look at the Pixel, those settings are not the same. There is no masking, which should be increased, and the noise reduction is up. Now, if you're shooting RAW, there's no reason for you to use these default settings. They're easy to change, so let's make them equal. With them set equally, the iPhone is still a much sharper image, but that's not really enough. We really need to adjust the settings to their optimal values because you wouldn't use the same values on a 12 megapixel image and a 48 megapixel image. So let's adjust them optimally. The next step in post-processing is to match the exposures. We can see the iPhone picture is quite a bit dimmer than the Pixel picture, so we'll match that. As I adjust the exposure, watch the lamp here to see how much we can recover those blown out highlights. Okay, finally zooming into the details, we see that the iPhone still looks significantly sharper, just more detail, despite having a much shorter shutter speed. Overall, the RAW files out of the new iPhone look great, especially in areas of fine texture. However, those benefits only exist when you bother to put the iPhone into RAW mode. If you don't switch into RAW mode, the Pixel's 12 megapixel images look significantly better. They're more natural, more detailed. So for the serious photographer, the iPhone 14 Pro wins, but for the more casual photographer, the Pixel's the better choice. The differences were less interesting with the ultra-wide-angle lens where both cameras produced 12 megapixel pictures. You can see the iPhone overprocessed these faces even though they were just mugs, and thus the Pixel looks better here. And in other parts of the picture, the iPhone looked better, so I'm going to call this a tie. Testing low-light 4K 60 video, we can see the Pixel crops in more than the iPhone. The iPhone adds more noise reduction, which in this circumstance looks better, though it does rob some of the detail. These differences were even more obvious with the ultra-wide angle lenses, where the iPhone was the clear winner. One new feature Apple did give us is action mode, which uses the ultra-wide angle lens and GoPro-like stabilization to give you a gimbal steady video shot while you're walking or running. And I was going to do it in here walking through the house, something that you might do if you're a real estate photographer, but it's telling me more light required. So I guess it's only useful outside, so let's go outside. We do have plenty of light outside, so I'm going to run through this orchard and see how stable it is. The iPhone's new action mode promises to be a GoPro killer, and it does a pretty good job. The stabilization is very gimbal-like, and I have used this in the real world and it works great. This is nothing new for the Pixel though, which calls it active stabilization, and the results are almost indistinguishable, though the iPhone seems to be a little bit smoother and a little bit sharper, so slight win for the iPhone. Just for comparison, I'm gonna film Frank with his gimbal and A7S III. Oh, we're probably looking at like $5,000 or $6,000 in gear here. See how that does. Both cameras have a cinematic video mode, which adds bokeh to video, but they're not quite equal. The iPhone does 4K at 30 frames per second, but it looks like the Pixel only does full HD at 24 frames per second. I'm gonna test both out with my very dramatic cameraman, Frank. If you're watching casually, they both look pretty good. But if you look closely, they both crumble. And you realize why real cinematographers use conventional cameras with fast lenses to achieve bokeh. They can't handle the fine details. Here, neither phone can separate the cabling from the background, and it looks like garbage. Without the cables in the scene, they both looked much better, but still neither was perfect. The iPhone supported cinema mode with its telephoto lens, however, giving it a slight advantage over the Pixel. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm in the backyard doing some astrophotography with smartphones, something that was unheard of just a couple of years ago, and it's so amazing. The Google Pixel will actually do 4-minute long exposures when it's on a tripod, but both the cameras can do 6-second exposures handheld. I will say the iPhone has an advantage here in that MagSafe really makes it easy to put it on a tripod. With the Pixel, it doesn't quite hold. Like if Google could just make the Pixel a little bit more magnetic, then I could use MagSafe for that too, but I have to use the clampy thing, which is never quite as convenient to get in. Let's take a look at the results. First, tripod shots with the ultra-wide angle lens, and here it's a clear winner. The iPhone blows it away. See, the Pixel 7 Pro still doesn't support the starry sky mode for the ultra-wide angle lens. You have to go to just the standard wide angle lens. But going to the wide lens, and now the Pixel 7 Pro can take 4-minute exposures compared to the iPhone's 30-second exposures. In both images, you can see the faint outline of the Milky Way here. I'm in the suburbs, so there's a lot of light pollution, and that's about as good as you could get. This is far better than I could see with my eye. Zoom in. Wow, the Pixel 7 Pro blows away the best iPhone that you can buy. For less money too. It is so much clearer. There's less movement in the stars, less noise. It is a drastically better image. Even the tree in the foreground is clearer on the Pixel 7 Pro. The Pixel 7 Pro does this by tracking the movement of the stars through the sky and canceling out that movement. Yeah, you have a built-in star tracker. That's how it can take 4-minute exposures without getting long star trails. Both cameras also allow a 2x mode, which crops in 200%, essentially giving you a 12 megapixel image out of that original 50 megapixel sensor. And you can see the Pixel 7 Pro looks drastically better here too. Huge win for Google. Even as a photographer and creator, it's not all about the image quality. The usability of the phone makes a big difference, and they have some distinct advantages. The Pixel feels so much better in my hands. I do not understand Apple's decision to make all the phones have sharp edges, like you just have to use a case on it, whereas the Pixel feels comfortable in my hand. The Pixel also gave me fingerprint unlock, which the iPhone had generations ago, and which I still want. The reason is that when I have to wear a mask, either because of COVID restrictions or just because it's cold, the face unlock on the iPhone does not work at all. It's such a pain, it actually slows me down. Whereas the Pixel, I can just unlock it with my fingerprint. But then there's the Apple infrastructure. Apple does so many things so well. Like CarPlay, in my opinion, works a little bit better than Android Auto. I think the Apple Watches work a little bit better than the Android watches. I'm a Mac user and I love being able to airdrop things. iMessage is so useful, and honestly, I'd probably be kicked out of half of my social groups if I switched to Android, because then I'd be the green text ruining the chats. And this is completely unfair. I should not be forced to pick my phone because I want compatibility with my car and my computer. Apple has created a walled garden, and I believe it to be anti-competitive. Even though it doesn't meet the legal requirements for a monopoly, it feels unfair. It feels like it's taking away consumer choices. And so while that might keep me shooting with my iPhone, I would encourage everybody else to check out the Pixel, if nothing else, to rebel from the Apple near monopoly. In the comments down below, let me know what you think. And I want to thank Smith Farm. They have this incredible property here that you can use for weddings or other types of events. Check out their website. And if you have questions, follow-up comments, write it down below. Be sure to subscribe because I have other reviews coming up and a full tutorial for these real cameras. Thanks and bye.